Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome
We're
back.
back. Week 4. I can't believe you're still here, quite frankly.
After the most beautiful footballers.
Yeah.
The best fighters. Yeah.
And then the worst
the
11.
worst. Yeah.
We're talking about something to start off with today. Perhaps the most serious thing we've discussed, quite frankly.
Yeah.
We're talking about the state of football. Now, this came about, I pitched this one to Max because I often see
There was
online...
quite a rate about it, actually.
I was livid. I often see online older fans talk about how football isn't as good as it used to be in the days of your Lampards, your Gerrards, and that it's just gone downhill and it's not as entertaining. And there is some merit to the arguments, and we will discuss those arguments today, but we also want to give the perspective of people who, Max and I grew up on football a little later on. More 2010s, 2020s football is more our range, so we thought we'd give our perspective because we grew up in a different time. But we will, we'll give a balance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I want to start by saying I genuinely think tactically the game is more interesting now.
Yeah, yes
Than it
and
ever
no.
has been.
Yes, tactically, I think it's a lot more... Advanced is the wrong way. I think it's very much more detail orientated.
Yes.
Maybe
Yeah.
than it has been in the past. It feels like players have been instructed to, before it might have been get into this position, beat your man, do that or whatever.
Yeah.
But now it does feel a lot more like
You have to be
step
in-
with
yeah,
this
yeah.
foot.
Yeah.
Receive with at this angle type thing.
And you know
Get
what?
into-
As an autistic football fan, the devil is in the details, and I love the tactical element of the game.
I get it, and I
So
there's definitely it's when you watch prime Man City and the way they ping that ball around and they just absolutely dominate a team, like it's impressive.
Yeah.
It's quite like it can
I
be
think
like,
it's
whoa,
fascinating to
how
watch.
amazing they are, and and definitely when you do get two teams which are there's the Jurgen Klopp mentality versus the Pep mentality.
Yeah.
Those two completely
Heavy
different
metal football,
ideologies, coming together, and that was so interesting. But also, there has been over the past 5 years, I'd say, the death of that individuality.
And I think that's come about because everyone seems to just want to copy the Pep way.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think they are. The stats back it.
back it.
The stats
Yeah.
back it.
And I think for that point, I understand the argument that it's perhaps a bit more boring, but that's not because you've got Pep who's ruined football by bringing his tactical vision. You've just got perhaps some managers who lack that vision.
Well, it's the alternative is it's not as good. At the end of the day, it's so cutthroat with these managers. It's like if they don't provide the results now, if they don't show clear improvement, then
They're gone.
they're gone.
Yeah. Long gone are the days where you could just sit back and counterattack and win the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's definitely a good...
But I think that's good.
It's a tactic that works, though. Look at Nuno this season. They sit back
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they hit you. They just hit you hard on the counter.
But then is that just history repeating itself? And then are we having this conversation of, is football worse? When actually it's not. It's just developed and
it definitely goes in cycles.
It goes in cycles. Absolutely, it goes in cycles.
It definitely goes in cycles. Someone will come along with a 4-4-2 that will completely break apart the possession-based game. And I do think we're starting to see the rebirth of the number 10.
Yeah.
Because there has been that death of that individualism in that position, taking the ball, beating a man, having a pop from distance. But I think the likes of Morgan Rogers, Cole Palmer, it's been like in the Premier League, and then in other leagues as well, you've got the likes of Sanchez for Athletic Bilbao. He's young Spanish attacker doing that. They've got it for AC Milan. Reinders again. These young attacking midfielders who are starting to come through, who are. Yeah, and I do think there's definitely a reboot. Florian Wirtz would be probably the biggest name.
Who will likely see it City next year.
Yeah. But,
do you think in the next 10 years we will see, for lack of a better word, two up front again? Is that something we'll see? Two strikers again?
Yeah.
Will people revert back to that 4-4-2?
I think we will.
Yeah.
I think I do think there'll be a big again, it's cyclical. It just comes and goes. To go over the stats quickly.
Go for it.
So there's more goals than ever. Why is a long debate for far smarter people than you and me.
Yeah, I think some people would argue that defences are worse.
There's conversations about defense being worse. There's conversations about you're not allowed to be as aggressive in a tackle. Therefore,
Which is true. The refereeing rules have probably had an impact on
the
the
one
game
I
that
agree
way.
least with is the idea that goalkeepers, because they're better with their feet, they're worse at shot stopping. I disagree with that.
I
'Cause
disagree with
goalkeepers
that.
are bigger than ever.
Yeah,
I feel
bigger than
like I
ever.
feel like players are bigger than ever now.
Yeah.
There's also a lot more open play goals, which I think a lot of people wouldn't think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything feels like it's from a set piece these days.
Yeah.
But there are more. What's different though is distance. These goals are being scored from.
Right.
What's disappearing? So what's being coached into players now is you shoot when you're in a better position, and you don't get it on the edge of the box and curl it in.
Yeah,
you
more people are
you
trying
get
to
it to the
work it in.
byline and you cut it back.
Yeah.
And that's probably your pep football.
Are we seeing people work it into the box a lot more as well?
I just think it was with I don't know. It's with the Liverpool and City era, even though it's different footballing ideologies, it was essentially, and I'm thinking back to like the 2018s when it was Sane, Sterling, Aguero, and Mane, Firmino, Salah. Especially so, the City tactic would be to get that ball to Sterling and Sane on a let them underlap, get it to the byline, cut it back to Aguero or De Bruyne.
Yeah.
And so they'll be scoring from the 6-yard box. Or the Liverpool tactic would be get it to Trent and Robertson on the overlap and let them swing it in.
Yeah.
And Salah, Mane would be there in the 6-yard box. So
Yeah.
I guess they're getting it there in different positions. But the idea that it's to get it into dangerous positions and then score get the ball as close to goal as possible before you take the shot.
You're seeing a lot less people saying, just have it and just shoot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe that's might start coming back.
I think it will. I think, like we said, it's cyclical. And I think when you hear the argument, oh, football's not as good anymore, it's not. It's just different. We will go back to what it was because someone will come up with a new or an old school tactic and bring it back, and that will dominate. And I think to say it's worse, I think is reductionist almost. It's just a different phase of play at the moment.
It's also just there's so much difference. Like there's the tactical difference, and then there's the social media difference. There's these players, whilst
they have an online presence like they didn't
exactly,
before.
they're celebrities more than just footballers. And whilst there's definitely an incentive to be the skillful guy and be the flair guy, there's probably also a bit more of a fear factor of if I mess up here,
everyone's gonna shit talk me on Twitter.
I'm gonna get absolute crapped on. There's a lot more confidence, I suppose, being part of it. Because I'm just thinking like, I know it's also so easy to pick out a player and be like, you don't see this anymore. Whereas they were famous at the time because they were the few who did it. You know,
yeah.
Look, if you watch,
they popularised a thing that other people now do.
If you watch Douglas Costa, for instance. You don't really, I suppose, I couldn't think of maybe a Premier League winger. All he did, very direct, very skillful, loved to take on a man like that.
Yeah.
But he was known for it at the time as well. He was known for being that. So that's what set him out. That's why he was so good.
Well, one thing I see a lot of the time is I think a lot of people say that the players themselves are worse now, which I fundamentally disagree with.
Yeah,
I think there are certain positions where I think we're struggling. I think the striker position, there is a shortage of decent world-class strikers at the moment. I think especially when you've got a Haaland who is just dominating as an individual.
But is that just because that's what the new striker has to be? The new striker has to be someone
who scores 50 goals a season,
knows where they're going in the box and will absolutely dominate in that box.
Yeah.
Because that's all you need your striker to do now. Because the players will get it out wide and they'll put it in.
Yeah.
And so the modern striker, I suppose, would be that. It would just be, Lionel Messi doesn't do that, I suppose. Obviously, Lionel Messi's a freak and something completely different.
1 in a million.
Yeah, but maybe that's the difference. Strikers are coming. You don't need to be as technically gifted to be a striker.
No. But also, I see people go, I will never see the likes of a Paul Scholes, a Gerrard, or a Lampard again. Well, I just think that's not true. Kevin De Bruyne is in that conversation with those people. I think you've got people like, obviously, it's like further back midfielders in Rice and Rodri who are.
But is that the argument?
midfield.
The difference between them is that with Paul Scholes is just, you give him a ball, we can just put it anywhere on the pitch. Like it's just technical excellence.
Yeah.
But I suppose you don't see that as much anymore, just because it's
see
not
it,
worth it. It's not worth. You need a runner. You need someone to be able to run in that midfield.
But Kevin De Bruyne puts in those
But
insane
he runs. He
balls.
can run.
But
He's physically
then I would argue
ridiculous.
he's doing more.
Yeah, I would argue as well.
I would completely
think...
argue he's doing more. So to have the argument that we'll never see players as good as them again, I think is actually...
I think it's that build is that we probably won't see.
Yeah, probably not. But that's because the players are doing more. And therefore, I think by definition, better players because they have a more well-rounded game. I also think objectively, fullbacks are better now than they ever were.
They're a lot more...
involved in the game.
Yeah, they have far more responsibilities.
Yeah, and so it's what bothered me with that argument is, it's just not the same. I think people have these nostalgia glasses on and miss Lampard being on the pitch, miss Rooney being on the pitch, miss Gerrard, all these players.
I understand that, yeah.
But we will make new legends. Like City have made new legends in this era. Arsenal are currently in the process of making a new...
Well...
hopefully, for Arsenal fans, making a new Legends team if they go on to win anything in the next couple of years. I think just because old legends are gone doesn't mean new ones can't be made. I think people look at it with nostalgia and go, well, now that's happened, it will never happen again. We will never see this again. I think history proves that that's not true. In the 60s, we had Bobby Moore, Bobby Charlton, all these, George Best, all these guys. And then a new era came around. United weren't as good in the 70s and 80s, and then the 90s came around, and we had the class of 92, and then the 2000s, and then we're not good again now, but then the 2030s is going to happen. I think legends come and go, new teams are built. To say that they're not as good as they were then, I think is just more reflective of where your current team is at. I think it's very easy for a Chelsea fan to go, well, football's not as good anymore. These players are rubbish. They're not nearly as good as they were. Well, yeah, because your team's shit at the moment. But
yeah.
if you come round in the next 10 years, you could have a new team of 11 that's incredible with Cole Palmer being your staple in that team.
I understand, yeah. I think, yeah, the argument would be that you just don't see... You don't see these players who can just solely focus on attack anymore. Everyone needs to be able to do everything these days, which is... something which I don't know how cyclical that'll be. I don't no clue. And there's also the argument of these players, so they're fitter than ever, and so they run a lot further because you have to run a lot further. But they play a lot more football than ever before,
and they're getting
so they're all
more,
knackered
and
by the second half of the season.
Playing more games due to restructures in competitions and other ridiculous reasons, and therefore getting injured a lot more.
Yeah, they play more games than ever. They run further than ever.
Yeah,
and so then it will be a what breaks first? Will it be the next generation of athletes are just going to be athletically better again? They're just going to.
Does it just keep going up?
Does it just keep going up and up, or does it end up with the players? They just keep getting injured.
Yeah,
people
and then
stop watching because you're watching a World Cup and the best players aren't there because they've been playing all season. Yeah,
I mean we see it with players like Reece James, Luke Shaw. They will be out for years at a time. So it's like, does it keep going up and up and up, or do we eventually say, draw a line under this? We need to restructure this, play less games. Do players then have to start sticking to their departments? Do fullbacks go back to just being fullbacks?
To run less. Maybe, yeah. Games become slower because teams have to preserve the athlete.
Yeah. Do we revert back to the old 4-4-2 tactic? Like we said, these things are secular. I think definitively there's no right or wrong answer. Is football worse? I would argue no.
There's definitely a nostalgia element, isn't there?
I think 100%.
And there's definitely...
And to be fair, in 10, 20 years, we will probably be having this argument. So it's... Yeah.
There's definitely... I suppose it's just the players like Dimitar Berbatov. You don't see that anymore because you can't have that. He would jog around, technically excellent, but not... He wouldn't press enough, No. And I think that's what's dying, which people might not like.
I mean, wasn't it Kieran Tierney who said as soon as they started having fullbacks go forward, he just couldn't compete?
It was into the midfield, so it was when Zinchenko got brought in. He said
he just couldn't compete.
It's just a level of the game which he wasn't.
Yeah, because he was the traditional old school fullback.
He's an overlapping full, but I don't know. I'll tell you what. There's times this season where if Kieran Tierney was playing left back, we definitely would have created more chances, and instead of having a midfielder. But yeah, it's very
Yeah, I think in conclusion, we're gonna go. No, it's not worse. Football is secular. It comes back. It has phases, and people who make that argument are probably nostalgic, but also different generations will have their own generations of legends.
You grow up watching different things, don't
yeah,
you?
yeah.
I'm
exactly.
sure we really value the long ball, like watching
Yeah.
Van Persie.
Yeah.
The way
Yeah.
those types of goals. Whereas
Rooney would just ping it into him and he hits it on that first time volley.
Whereas
Bang.
maybe someone a bit younger than us will grow up thinking, oh, I remember the
I
days
love passing
watching
out from the back.
watching. Not that. But I wouldn't be shocked if there'd be a push of maybe your 15-year-olds who are like, oh, just get that like an absolutely rapid winger, hit the byline, cut it back into a striker who just knows where to stand.
Yeah. I think one thing that is objectively worse now is the competition's almost too hard for anyone coming up to compete.
Oh, what, the Premier League?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a financial issue.
That's a financial issue. It's we've just seen for the past 2 seasons, the 3 promoted teams have gone straight back down.
I don't see that changing.
And I don't see that changing.
I thought
think,
Leicester might have been the only ones who could.
Yeah, I think we will probably see Leeds and Burnley go down, and whoever wins the playoffs will probably also go down. I don't any of those playoff teams, Sunderland, Bristol, Coventry, and Sheffield United do not stand a chance.
I think it's more looking at the you got to look at the Prem teams and think who goes down, who replaces them.
I think you can make an argument for Everton, Wolves,
I don't think Everton have too much money. They won't.
But even them will win a game against Sheffield United. Will win a game against Bristol City, Coventry, Sunderland, Burnley, probably Leeds as well.
The only teams I could think of is if Brentford get absolutely stripped.
Mbeumo goes.
Wissa goes.
Yeah.
Then maybe Damsgaard goes. Flecken goes.
Yeah.
But
Wolves might lose
Wolves,
Cunha.
But Wolves were crap, and then they get a new manager in, and
then they're fine for a few
because
months.
their players are very good.
Yeah, and even West Ham will have a period where they're going to finish 17th, and then next year they'll finish 10th.
They're just too good, and you can sell a lot more. West Ham have value in their teams, whereas other teams who come up won't. I don't know. Leeds have a lot of money behind them.
Leeds do have a lot of money behind them, but I don't know. I would like, as I know it's maybe a controversial. I think Leeds. I prefer having them in the league because I like that competition of Man United Leeds. So I prefer to have them in the league, but I just don't see a world where any of the 3 teams that are coming up outperform any of those who are already up. And yeah, I'd say that's the one thing that's maybe objectively worse now is that these teams don't stand a chance. So maybe finances have had a negative impact on the game, especially in English football. And I mean, on a larger thing, we've seen that finances do dominate, and they were trying to form this Super League, and then pushing for more teams to be in the Champions League. We're having this new league phase format. So I think the one thing that we can say is having a negative impact on the game is the financial aspect of it.
Yep. And then, but it's all linked, isn't it? Because of the money in it. More games mean more money. More games means it goes back to the more tired athlete. Longer games, more tired defenders. Especially there's like been an upward trajectory since 2010, which is last minute goals.
Yeah.
More teams lose from winning positions as well. From just being more. I do think there's going to be a big push of players are just coming more tired. There's only so much you can ask someone to do. They are human at the end of the day.
That was that topic. We're now going to we're going to discuss some future predictions for next season for both Arsenal and Man United. Like we said, we're probably not going to be as topical as we'd like in these podcasts, so we're looking more to the future, a few months from now.
Yeah.
So, looking at where both teams are. We're recording this at the point of Man United have the second leg against Bilbao tonight, and Arsenal have just been knocked out of the Champions League by PSG. So Max is in a great mood, and I'm in a very optimistic mood that we might make a cup final today. But obviously, we will find out when this comes out. I might have completely embarrassed myself and we'll be lost 4-0 at home to Bilbao. So who knows? But do you think Arsenal will push on and actually make the effort to finish higher than second and win the league?
I don't think Arsenal finish second this season, for being honest. But
don't you? Because now you're out of the Champions League.
We got Newcastle and Liverpool.
Yeah, true.
But
although we're recording this after Liverpool just lost to Chelsea.
Yeah, but I think Liverpool will have in mind
It's Arsenal.
Arsenal might not get in the Champions League if we win this.
Yeah, maybe.
So I think they'll play, and especially because it's at Anfield. I wonder if it's the last home game for them for the season.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be up for it.
But next season, Arsenal. Do you finally win something?
Depends on the summer. Like
Summer predictions.
So
then.
at the end of,
I think ultimately you need a striker.
at the end of 23-24, Arsenal have their best season ever without winning something. 89 points, most goals scored, least goals conceded, and in response, the board signs a 21-year-old left back, a 28-year-old midfielder, and Raheem Sterling.
Yeah, who's played barely.
A backup goalkeeper who's played 2 games, and an 18-year-old goalkeeper, and technically Raya. Arsenal made a profit last season.
You had a poor
after we're so close, they make a profit. It's sickening.
Was it to save up for this summer? Do you think?
I do think there's definitely an element of
You're prepping for something big here,
Arsenal
aren't
and
you?
Liverpool spent very, very little because they probably know that, one, with the thing with Man City, 2, with Madrid, like probably going for a rebuild. They'll probably. I think there's definitely knowledge that there's going to be a lot more options this summer than last summer.
Yeah.
However, I still think it's a bit arrogant of Arsenal not to think that there's anyone out there who was going to improve that front three.
It was an embarrassing.
There's the hindsight of when we came out of that season, Kai Havertz was one of the most informed strikers in Europe. And so they probably thought, well, if he kicks on, we'll have Jesus. But you can't rely on Kai Havertz for a season to play as a striker.
And now you're playing Marino up front.
Yeah, who would have, I think that's Bob might think the same. They'll go, well, you got Miguel Marino up front now.
But this is the thing, if you don't, which surely you will, does history just repeat itself? And you go, oh, Marino's working out.
Arsenal will probably go for a small rebuild over the summer because a lot of people are leaving. You've got...
Who do you think's leaving Arsenal this season?
Just to run through them quickly then. So Neto's obviously going to leave. Going through the defence, I think Tomiyasu stays because they forget about him. He's still around. Kivior, I reckon, leaves. I think he'd be good enough to stay, and I do not mind if he stays or anything like that. But I think Arsenal could get 30 million for him. Yeah, he's still not that old. Goes to Napoli, someone like that. I could absolutely see him leaving. Zinchenko, I think, leaves. Tierney leaves. And so that leaves you with a defence of Timber, White, Tomiyasu, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Mars Lewis, Skelly. So they'll need to sign a centre-back and a left-back and a backup goalkeeper. So that's 3 signings already. Then Jorginho's leaving. Obviously, Nuno Tavares is leaving. Sambi Lokonga's leaving. Partey's looking like he's going to sign on.
Looks like it, yeah.
Arsenal.
I think that's good for you. I think.
Yeah, Arsenal are looking like they're going to sign Zubimendi. So that's that. But to carry on with the leaving, Jorginho's leaving. Fabio Vieira probably leaving as well. Yeah. And then in the attack, you'll have one of Trossard and Martinelli's probably going to leave.
Who would you of those two rather left?
I really don't mind. You get more money for Martinelli, but I don't get paid. So
no, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I think, you know what, my opinion of Martinelli as a footballer is not very high. I do not think he's great. I think Trossard is probably the better of the two, but he's older.
Yeah,
but like you said, you'd get more money for Martinelli because I think there's a name behind Martinelli, and you can replace him with someone a lot better.
But Arsenal, that shouldn't be a concern for Arsenal. Should have loads of money.
They should have loads of money, but unfortunately in the FFP world,
they made a profit last season.
They made a profit last season.
There's no FFP
problem for Arsenal.
The only problems Arsenal have is they do have to replace a lot, and there's the homegrown quota that Arsenal face, and I think Martinelli stays because of that. Technically, he counts as a homegrown player.
Because he's been when he was so young.
Yes, and recent Nelson will come back. I think he'll leave. And then Sterling is obviously
going to go back to Chelsea.
Away, yeah. So that's the main. That's probably a big consideration for Arsenal in the summer transfer window. Is I'm not sure off the top of my head how many homegrown players you need. I think it's 7.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Your homegrown players are either someone who's come from the academy or you've had since they were 18 years old. Is it 18? They have to be 18 or not?
So you must have signed. They must have come through your academy or signed for you when they're like, I think it's 17.
17. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Um,
Garnacho, we got him from Atletico, but he's a homegrown.
Yeah. So Saliba's a homegrown player.
Yeah.
Martinelli's a homegrown player. You can bring them back as well. If we sign Szczesny, he
Yes,
count as a homegrown
yeah.
player.
You could do with him as a backup, especially now to
I don't
Stegen's.
think he would. He quite happy in Barcelona.
Quite happy in
isn't
Barca,
he?
but will to Stegen be more?
Yeah,
for
but he wouldn't
next
play
season.
over Raya either, though, would he?
No.
But yeah. So
Maybe he won't mind that because he did try and retire.
with I can't find the exact number. It's not okay. So you can't have more than 17 players. But I swear there's like you need a select amount of. Here we go. You must name 8 homegrown players.
'Kay.
So Arsenal have, because they used to have loads
Yeah.
with Ramsdale, Smith Rowe, Nelson, and Ketia,
you've
and they got rid of
cleared
them
them
all.
all out,
And
yeah.
so that's definitely. I think that's one reason we signed Sterling because we
Mm.
needed that English player.
Yeah.
But next season, assuming those players go, Arsenal will have Ben White, English, Saliba, he counts,
Yeah.
because we signed him young enough.
Lewis Skelly.
Lewis Skelly does not count.
Does he not count?
So they have to be 21 years or older, I believe.
Right. Okay.
The benefit of it is you can have as many under 21s as you want. They don't count towards your squad
Okay.
as a whole. However, they also don't count towards your homegrown.
Okay.
So Lewis Skelly and Wanyeri don't count towards it.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's White for 1, Declan Rice 2, Saliba 3, Martinelli 4, Saka 5. They've currently got Nathan Butler-Yoyo-Deji, who's a 23-year-old English player.
Brilliant. Okay.
Sterling counts this season, and
He'll
there's
obviously
probably
go, though.
someone else I'm forgetting,
Yeah.
which finalises that list.
Mhm.
But if Sterling leaves, I'm assuming Nathan Butler-Yoyo-Deji's not going to stay on.
Mhm.
Arsenal will have to sign English players.
Yeah.
Who that is, I do not know.
Because obviously you made a half-assed bid for Ollie Watkins in January.
Yep.
Do you get him in as a backup striker just to fill that quota, and then go for someone like a who do you want up front?
Like a Gyökeres.
Yeah, like a Gyökeres.
I don't think so. I think they can get cheaper.
Do you think Gyökeres
30 million?
Maybe, yeah, it's not a bad shout. Do you think Gyökeres is the answer to
I do
Arsenal's
think Andrea
striker
Bert has come in and just said Arsenal need goals. Who's the best goal scoring player in Europe
at the moment?
that I can get?
It's Gyökeres.
Is Gyökeres.
Is he the most likely, you think, to play up front for Arsenal
I
next
do.
season? Yeah,
I think if Ornstein says it, it tends to be
tends
him.
to be true. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the dream was Isak, wasn't it? But that looks less and less
But
likely.
that's what will be interesting next season. It will be interesting to see what Arsenal are going to sign an English player, and it will be a shock. I bet it will be. Oh, I didn't expect Arsenal to sign him, and they're suddenly very much linked.
Is
with
it
him.
going to be some young teenager from the Championship?
They won't count because they have to be 21 or older.
21 or older, innit? God, yeah, you're going to just sign some rando.
I think they'll go big. I don't think they'll want to waste money on a non. I think Reece Nelson might stay around
Just for the
English quota.
Yeah, maybe.
I think, but I wouldn't be shocked if we go for an Anthony Gordon or someone like that.
that would be good for you.
It would just
actually.
be it would be
Do you know what?
someone.
Anthony
he
Gordon-
wouldn't go, but it would be someone like that. Morgan Gibbs White that City really want. It will be someone along them lines.
He's a Man United fan, Morgan Gibbs White. So if he goes to City, he's a dirty little traitor.
Yeah, but I do think Arsenal will sign some English player, which will go against the flow, or
Yeah.
they'll panic sign someone on the last day, like a Raheem Sterling, who's probably not good enough to play for Arsenal, but they just need someone to fill
Yeah.
the quota.
Mm.
But yeah, that's.
Okay, final word on Arsenal.
Okay.
Predictions. Where do you finish in the league next year?
I've got absolutely no clue. It completely depends.
If you
on-
get all the, let's
I'm
assume.
a bit depressed because of the Champions
Yeah,
League.
yeah. This is
so
off the
I'm
back
not
of
the
a-
most optimistic.
Yeah, we're gonna assume that you get everyone you want. You've got your striker.
Okay.
You've filled your quotas of English players.
If we keep a load of players, we've got a big old squad, no big injuries, and they sign Gyökeres, they sign I don't know, Nico Williams, whatever, then there's not much excuse for why Arsenal shouldn't be fighting for the title.
I agree. I think realistically it should have been this year, but that wasted summer has seemingly.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of context for this season.
Yeah.
But it does. If you have to put blame, I think it does come down to the summer.
I think this is kind of last hurrah for Arsenal in that they have to win something next year, even if it's just an FA Cup, because
What for Arteta?
I don't think he gets sacked if he doesn't, but I think questions start being asked.
I think they get asked next season.
Yeah.
I think if he doesn't win anything next
When
season,
was the FA? Was he's what? So he's won the one FA Cup in
2020.
2020. Yeah, he has to win something next year.
there'll be
Absolutely.
definitely. I think it's
Even if
this
it's not
next
the league.
season. And I also think he doesn't get an excuse this season.
No,
for
because
next season, because this season Arsenal have had ridiculous injuries.
ridiculous injuries. Poor summer.
He hasn't been backed. But I think next season, I think he will be backed.
He's got to be
and
backed.
I think he'll. I don't think there'll be any excuses.
No question. Even if it's not the league, you win an FA Cup, and finish second. And
I think they'll want a big one.
you
They'll
want-
want one
you
of the
want
big
a big
two.
one. You
They'll
want one of the big
league
two.
or the Champions League.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah,
Do you think Arsenal are capable of winning the Champions League next year? You did very well this year.
I do.
I don't think it's an unrealistic expectation.
I think it's unrealistic. I think the competition will be a lot harder next season, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's unrealistic.
No, I don't know either.
Really depends on who they sign, and I've got
Mhm.
no clue who Arsenal are going to
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah, fair enough. So that's Arsenal. Man United. I don't even know, man.
It's up in the air. Arsenal is. Man United.
This is
looking like Mateus Cunha.
yeah, man.
I thought you had no money. I thought Man United had no
this
money.
is the thing.
Is he dependent on Champions League?
Probably. I mean, look, we're hearing Jim Ratcliffe say that if he hadn't pumped 300 million into the club, we would have gone bankrupt by the end of the year. And that he's already run out of that 300 million that he's put in the club.
Wow.
We have to win the Europa League. I actually don't think it's a debate. I think we're seeing in the league now, like Chido Obi Martin started last game, and we're playing all the people. And look, I think Obi Martin's probably going to be a really good player one day. If you're wanting to win the league and do well in the league, you're not starting him right now, and we're clearly not prioritising that right now. We are going ham on the Europa League because that's. I think the board have gone. You need to get us into the Champions League next year.
Yeah.
Assuming we do, is Cunha the answer to our goal scoring issues? No. I think
Another player with an attitude, some might say.
another player with an attitude, some might say. I do think we get more goals with him. I think
absolutely.
I think he instantly becomes the best goal scorer in our front.
Yeah, I agree. I think he
options.
comes in and he's good. I think he'd be good for Man United.
But the one thing that Man United really struggle with at the moment, we've seen it with Rasmus Højlund, who we are seeing is having a terrible season. But he is the least provided striker in the league, so it almost doesn't matter who's there.
Sorry.
It almost doesn't matter who's there. If he's not getting the assistance, you could be Cristiano Ronaldo. You're not scoring.
Yeah, exactly.
So while I think it's a good signing, I think Cunha up front for Man United would be really. I think it's better than Xerxes and Højlund. I think it's a good signing. I think we need someone to provide. We've got Bruno Fernandes, who's had a good season, but he can't carry this team on his own.
Does he stay?
Yes.
You reckon?
I think he absolutely stays.
As of recording, he's currently Saudi Arabia.
Big rumours.
Yeah.
I don't think he would go to Saudi Arabia at this point in his career.
It must be tempting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anyone gets the offer from Saudi Arabia and you get that kind of paycheck.
It must be very tempting.
Everyone's going to look. But I don't know.
Do you think he just waits for the summer and he's like, if Man United don't get anyone...
Maybe. I think if he sees zero progress...
If he looks at the squad and thinks, Christ,
Maybe.
the defence is still Harry Maguire,
Defence isn't our main issue.
Luke Shaw.
The defence isn't our main issue. I think we're actually conceding less goals, but not scoring any. Like I think we've seen a resurgence in Harry Maguire. This back three clearly benefits him more than it does any other formation. This is the best Harry Maguire has been ever, probably for Man United.
Yeah.
I think he has the better support with two people either side. I think I like Lenny Yoro. I'm liking De Ligt. I like Martinez, even though he's injured all the time. I think as a second option, Martinez is good. He's just clearly not fit enough to start.
Yep.
I think if we're signing anyone, the back three shouldn't be our priority. Johnny Evans will go, so maybe we need one. So maybe we need someone.
He was still there.
Yeah. So maybe we need someone else.
Lindelof, does he go?
Lindelof will go. So actually, to be fair, if Lindelof and Johnny Evans are going, maybe one centre back should be on the agenda. But it's our midfield, man.
Do Man United go for Kivior?
to Man United go for Kivior? No, probably not. But that's where it lies, isn't it? Casemiro's probably going to go. He seems keen to stay, weirdly. But I think he's probably on the to-go list. And another wing-back, clearly, because Dorgu's still young, but not really cutting it at the moment.
There's another everything. There's another defensive midfielder,
this is the thing.
another centre-back.
It's not like with Arsenal where you go, let's get a striker. We need a new goalkeeper. We seem to be pushing for a goalkeeper at the moment, which is good. It's a mess. It's really hard to say where we're going to finish because it's not like where we go with Arsenal. Ideally, you get all your positions fixed. Where do you finish? Okay, so if Man United completely rebuild the squad in the summer and we have a different starting 11, it's so much more difficult, I think, to say.
Say Amorim gets 5 signings, whatever they are. They might not be his best, whatever.
Let's say he gets
just five. He gets 5.
His choice of signings.
Yeah. So the squad. It's not like his squad, but he's definitely got a footprint in that squad now.
Mm-hmm. He's got his goalkeeper. He's got his striker.
What's his worst finish that he can have?
What, without getting sacked?
Yeah.
6th. He needs...
So top 6?
Yeah.
So he's gone then? I don't think he gets top 6 next season. No.
I think United need... By definition of the club, we need to finish in the European spaces.
Okay, but not 8th. Conference League isn't good enough.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be good enough, but I think... you win a trophy this season, say you win the Europa League... You then get us into the Conference League.
Assuming he doesn't win the FA Cup or anything like that.
And he gets us into the Conference League.
I think 8th. I think if he finishes any lower than 8th, he goes. But I don't think you'd sack him if he finished 8th.
Yeah, I don't think we'd sack him if we finished 8th. I think
17th.
They're playing the long game with Ruben Amorim, aren't we? Like, we are clearly
You have to with someone.
Yeah,
surely.
we have to with someone. Yeah, we have to give someone time. This is also the most different system we've ever seen under a manager.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take the most adjustment. And he clearly wants to get rid of everyone.
I don't blame him.
No, I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. I think, you're probably right. I think 8th. I think he has to finish in the conference. But that's ridiculous that we're even saying that.
Forget...
I think we need to take off the nostalgia glass and say Man United need to finish in the top 4. And say, okay, where can Man United realistically finish? And I think, probably 8th. I think if we don't finish in a European spot, again, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, also then, forgetting the realism of why on earth would they join Man United, if you could sign one player to help this team, who would you go for?
It's Isak, isn't it?
Oh, you go for Isak up front?
Yeah. The world is begging for strikers, and he's probably... the second best in the league.
Yeah. You'd ruin him then as well.
Yeah, assuming we don't completely ruin these players. Yeah, I think it has to be. That's where we struggle.
Yeah.
Rasmus Højlund can't score goals. Joshua Zirkzee looks a bit better, but now he's injured and he can't score goals. Ahmad's been out for a long time. He's slowly coming back, but again, we're not getting the goals. And if your priority for us should be getting a decent goal scorer. So, obviously, never going to happen. I think he either stays at Newcastle or maybe doesn't, or goes to Liverpool. But, it would be easy.
All right, then, a bit more realistically, then. 3 realistic players you'd sign. Out of curiosity.
So, Cunha looks likely, and I think that's a step forward in the striking department. A goalkeeper. Desperately need...
To replace Onana or to back him up?
Replace.
Okay.
I think I am so done with Onana at the moment. Fabrizio posted something that we're linked in for a goal.
Milinkovic-Savic.
Yeah. I
6'8".
Yeah, can't sit here and claim that I know enough about the guy to say if he'd fit any kind of system. He's not someone I've seen play. But 6'8" in goal, it can't get much worse, can it?
Yeah, it wouldn't be expensive.
Wouldn't be expensive. I think if money is something that we're really struggling with at the moment, the cheaper option's probably better.
Yep.
So I'd go for a goalkeeper. Let's say Milinkovic-Savic, just because we've seen that
link. Yep.
Seen that link. And then someone in that midfield. Bruno has played a little bit deeper more recently, and Mainu we seem to be pushing up for number 10.
Yeah.
Garnacho and Mainu seems to be what we're trying to go with those 2 number 10 positions behind the striker. I would rather see Garnacho on the left wing, in that wing back position,
Okay.
with Ahmad on the right wing. I think we've seen Ahmad play in that number 10 position. I think he's so much better in the right wing back position.
Yep.
I want to see another number 10 alongside Mainu because
Another number 10 alongside Bruno, Mount, and Cunha.
Well, here's the thing. Cunha, if we bring him in, is going to be the striker, isn't he?
I think you played a 10. I think you're back.
But then who the hell do we play up front?
Hoyland or Xerxes?
No, not a chance.
150 million, isn't it, those two?
Yeah, not a chance.
I think it's that. I don't think Cunha plays striker.
Those two are not playing up front.
Cunha's too good at bringing the ball forward. He's too good at running and bringing the ball from midfield to attack.
I do agree, but there is not a chance on God's green earth that Hoyland and Xerxes are the first choice striker next season.
I think you're going to eat your words. I think you're going to see...
If we don't have the money for it, sure, I think we probably will. But... good God, we need a striker. We need a goal scorer. But Fernandez seems to be playing further back this season, and he's having one of his better seasons in the slightly further back role. We're seeing him dictate the game a bit more rather than just being the guy who says, let me look for the wonder goal. We're seeing Bruno at his best at the moment, so I prefer him further back. Maybe it will be Mainu and Cunha, but then if it's Mainu and Cunha, we need a striker.
Oh, okay. Not the 150 million striker partnership that you assembled.
It's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, no, because they're maybe Xerxes will develop into something. We did see progress before he got injured, but he's not good enough to start for Man United right now.
I think your front three will be Diallo, Xerxes, Cunha. I think that's what he's building towards. I think Xerxes, Cunha, Diallo, they can all swap positions as well. Xerxes can play in that 10.
I think Ahmad's more likely to be right wing back than he is.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think if
you watch him a lot more.
I think Garnacho would.
You are wrong though, but
I am wrong. Yeah. No, I think Garnacho would probably be in that number 10 position alongside Cunha more than him or Mainu. But then again, because of rotation and injuries, Mainu kind of is anywhere in midfield at the moment. But I think Mainu himself says he prefers being in that slightly further forward position.
Yep.
I think that's where he's best. Yeah, I probably am wrong. I think we probably will see Hoyland and Xerxes just for financial sake.
And no return of Anthony or Rashford.
I actually really don't know. I think...
You've seen Real Batista pushing for the Anthony Ballon d'Or.
I have seen that, yeah. And you know what? If they think he's that good, they can keep him. I don't think Rashford stays at Villa, but I don't think he stays at United.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think he comes back to us. He might play a few pre-season games like Sancho did as a bit of an advertisement. Maybe PSG go in for him.
I think Arsenal panic loan sign him when we need that extra English player.
I've actually always said I think Rashford would suit Arsenal.
When Arsenal go, crap, we don't want to rely on Reece Nelson again.
Yeah.
Nathan Butler-Yoyo Deji's already left. We need someone.
Well, the thing is, Arsenal need pace, and Rashford, the one quality that he really does have is pace.
Yeah.
Anthony, there's not a chance he stays at Manchester United. Not a chance. If he's had a good loan, so maybe that his price could be jacked up a little bit. But then also, who wants to touch him?
Real Betis want him, I bet.
Well, actually, yeah, maybe, but could. Yeah, Betis could probably buy him. Actually, they can have him.
When they win the Conference League.
I hope they do. I really hope Betis batter Chelsea.
Well, you want Anthony to win it.
Yeah, this player that I absolutely
Anthony.
hate. I want him to get 2 European winners' medals.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, I really don't know. It's all up in the air. The thing is about Man United, it all depends on the Europa League.
That would be really heartbreaking for you, wouldn't it? If Anthony wins the Conference League and you don't win the Europa League.
If that happens, we keep him. I genuinely think we keep him.
I don't. I think he's more likely to go, surely, because you need more. You need the money.
Need the money. Yeah, actually,
I think Garnacho goes.
God.
I think he goes Chelsea. I think you need the money.
You really think? Would you genuinely think we're going to sell him?
I think Chelsea want him. I think Chelsea are giving up on Mudryk, and I think they're going to give up on Madueke.
I would be gutted to see Garnacho leave. I think that goes against everything that United is and should be if we sell.
He goes. I think there's not many untouchables at Man United.
I don't think you're necessarily. I think the untouchables are probably Ahmad,
Yoro,
probably Mainu and Bruno.
I don't think Maino's an
But
untouchable.
Mainu, we would.
You'd sell him 50 million.
Yeah,
you'd
we
sell
talk
him.
about him for the right price. I think Bruno's an untouchable at the moment. I think it's probably Bruno.
I just think Man United
Yoro
are so
and,
desperate
Ahmad.
for money
We are desperate for
that
money.
no one's an untouchable. You build the squad around what's left.
Yeah.
Agate.
This is the thing. I don't see very many of the signings from this season leaving.
Yeah.
I don't see Ugarte leaving. I don't see De Ligt leaving. I don't
Yeah.
see Yoro or Xerxes leaving. I could see us selling Højlund.
I don't know who buys. I
I
see
saw
Sam
Juventus
Højlund.
might have been interested.
What, to replace Vlahovic?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Might be better for him a slower league, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah.
We've seen.
But
that
you're not getting anywhere near the money you spent for him.
Oh no, not even close. But we've seen that he also works well in the Serie A, so it might be best for him if he did go to a Juventus.
Yeah.
I really don't know. Probably 8th is where we're going to finish, and I'm reluctant to say no trophy because if we win the Europa League this season,
It's another trophy.
it's 3 seasons in a row with a trophy in our 3 worst ever seasons.
Yeah.
Or not our 3 worst ever because we did finish 3rd under Ten Hag, but I'm reluctant to say no trophy because we could just shit house a Carabao Cup.
When in doubt.
When in doubt, couldn't we? Like it's the most Man United thing ever for us to finish 17th this season and win the Europa League. Like that's so Man United, and I could see us doing 8th in a Carabao Cup. But then
8th in a Carabao.
yeah,
That is Man United.
that is
isn't it?
Man United, isn't it? Yeah,
8th in a well, it's better than second and nothing.
second to nothing.
That's
Yeah.
Arsenal.
Well, at least second to nothing, you get Champions
Get my
League
hopes
football.
up.
You get Champions League football with second to
I'm
nothing.
miserable. I'm too miserable to be happy about Arsenal.
I'm incredibly optimistic. Watch me come in next week miserable because Bilbao batter us 4-0 at Old Trafford. But yeah, those are our predictions. Max thinks maybe pushing for
We're
the
winning
title.
the league. Actually, I take it back.
Max is
We're
gonna
winning the league.
push for the title, and I think United will finish 8th and maybe a Carabao Cup. Jesus wept.
8th in a Carabao.
That's what I'm
And
gonna go
we've
with.
done the domestic treble. No, we can't do the domestic treble if you've won the Carabao. We've
Yeah.
just done the treble.
You just done Arsenal winning the treble.
We're winning the treble. I'll change it back. Look, we're winning the treble. Gyökeres Ballon d'Or.
He's still at Sporting, by the
He's
way.
still at Sporting.
So you're saying Arsenal will win the league? I think I agree.
Lacazette returns.
You know what? I'm gonna push for Arsenal to win the league simply because that would be the outcome that angers me the least.
Because you don't want Liverpool.
Liverpool
or
cannot have more
Man
titles
City.
than us. It's already shit that they've matched it. They cannot have more. And I'm a bit numb to City winning the league, but
Yeah.
Arsenal winning it is better than City winning it, for me personally.
Yeah.
Do you think United finish 8th? Maybe get a Carabao Cup?
I think United finish. I just think it goes.
Honest opinion. Obviously, I'm going to be biased and be optimistic and say 8th.
I think the
Amarin
league
stays and we
gets-
win a Carabao
I think
Cup.
the league gets even harder next season. I think.
Are you about to say we're going to get relegated?
I don't think you get relegated. I just think Man United are in such a perilous place at the moment where
Mm-hmm.
they're not fixing up. I think, especially this season, Tottenham and Man United have been found out for relying on being Big Six. And
Yeah.
they haven't improved their teams. I think Tottenham have a little bit more of a caveat because their entire defence was injured.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I really do think big teams dropping off like that, and I think every team apart from City are absolutely could drop off and have a season at 14th because they just haven't improved enough, and everyone else does. Fulham are only going to get better. Palace are only going to get better. Brentford are one of the few I think might get worse, only because I could just see them getting stripped
I
of
think
talent.
Forest will fall off.
I don't. They're so rich. If they get Champions League football, they can just pump more money in. Especially
But
and
we've
same with
seen
Villa.
this, haven't we?
It's Forest, Villa, Newcastle.
But we've seen this. Newcastle finished in the top 4 and then they fell off. They're obviously back in it now. But they fell off a bit in their next season. Villa got Champions League football last season. They've fallen off in the league this season. The Champions League burden clearly causes these teams to struggle in the league. Newcastle
But is
did it.
that
Villa
just because
did it.
they buy in? Then they're able to buy in loads of players. So look at take Newcastle. They finish Champions League. They buy in Tonali.
Don't get me wrong. You attract a bigger group of players. But Newcastle did finish in the top 4 and then fell off and didn't do so well the next season.
I think Newcastle could be really scary.
I think Newcastle could be very scary
They're
next
going to
season.
get.
I just don't think Forest get Champions League football 2 seasons in a row.
I wouldn't be. I
It's harder to say now because there's 5 teams, so a quarter of the league is going to get in.
yeah.
I'm going to. I think our final word today is who is our top 5 predictions for next year.
Okay.
We're both going to say Arsenal are going to win the league because for us that's the most optimistic we can be.
It's the most obvious.
I'd love to say that Man United will win it, but that's just bullshitting myself. And I would rather Arsenal win it than Liverpool or City. So we're both going to say Arsenal win the league.
In no particular order. I would just rattle them off.
After first, it doesn't matter, does it?
In no particular order. Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Newcastle, Chelsea.
Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah, I think Villa not finishing in the top 5 this year means that they're not going to attract the same kind of players they bought in this season. So they will probably struggle.
Chelsea will only get better. Maresca will only learn more. As long as they
No,
stick
Maresca
with him,
will get the sack next season.
as long as they stick with him, they'll only improve.
This is. I don't think Chelsea make top 5.
Okay.
I think Chelsea might get the sack. Maresca will get the sack.
Even with the UK's sexiest, the world's
sexiest player. Harkening back to last week's episode. Arsenal, City, Newcastle, Liverpool. Liverpool will get it.
Liverpool get it.
But they will fall off.
What, from the heights of this season?
Yeah,
There's no Trent.
Salah
Salah won't have the dog in him.
It's not even that there's no Trent. I just think it will start to be more. Arne Slot will buy in more players. It will start being Slot's team more. Because this was just Klopp's team.
Yeah.
All they had to do was be better than all the other teams that fell off this year. The competition will be harder next season, so I don't think they'll be as good. And with new signings, it will take more time to adjust. However, there are 5 teams in the Champions League, and to say Liverpool won't be one of the best 5 is outrageous.
Liverpool get it.
So Liverpool will get it. So yeah, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, Newcastle. I think Chelsea are so lucky it's 5 places,
I think it'll be Chelsea. It'll be Chelsea. And
Chelsea or Villa.
In no particular order. But I think it'll be Chelsea. I think Chelsea will get in the top 5. Coley will be Champions League player.
Could Villa do it over Chelsea?
They could. But
I'm going to say Villa do it over Chelsea.
But I don't think they will.
I'm locking in. I'm going Villa over Chelsea.
I think Chelsea are going to have a stupid summer, and it's going to be like.
But they have a stupid summer every year.
Yeah, and they do get better every year.
Do they?
I know they've not been very good, but I think recently they started to pull it back a bit.
I just don't think they know what they're doing. Anyway, this has been our longest episode yet, so thanks for sticking around.
Oh wow.
Yeah, good one. This one.
Yeah,
I liked it.
It's been a
bit more of a serious one.
Bit more serious.
We'll do a shit one next week.
Less strict, was it? A bit more rambly from us.
Yeah, we'll do another funny one next week.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I don't believe in humour. In football mixing.
Everything is actually very serious. We weren't joking when we said that these players.
Everything I've said's been quite on the bloody nose. Yeah. Very, very on
to the point.
Yeah. I want to.
Fabian
be
Hurtzler
real.
is the sexiest manager in the league, and I will not have anyone tell me otherwise.
Pretty much,
Thank you. Join us next week where we'll discuss. We don't know. We haven't decided yet.
We haven't decided.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.